are starting.
All right, everybody. Well, welcome to the wrap-up of all of this. Hopefully, tying it all together for you. For those of you who have been around for the first three events, this is the last one. Zach's going to give you a quick review of some of the things that we've talked about so far, and then hopefully put a bow on it for you at the end. The gist of all of this has been trying to help everybody develop a marketing roadmap in terms of what they're trying to do and how they're trying to do it. And so with the departments that we're working with a little bit more closely, it really has been, first of all, what's the vision and the strategy? What is it you're trying to do? Because there's a lot going on around here with lots of lines of business, and a lot of times it becomes I got to get this done today, and how does that fit into the bigger strategy and what's going on? So we've been trying to get people to step back a little bit and say, what are your overall goals for the year, so that if we're trying to get from Minnesota to Florida, we may not go directly there, but at least we know we're trying to go south and a little bit east and not going north and a little bit west and getting lost along the way. We've also been trying to talk a little bit more about how we're going to execute that, and Zach will run through sort of the reminder of all of this, but whether that's digitally or social media or print or anything else, that all of those are connected, that it's not a series of different messages with different themes going out from different places, but people are starting to actually see that those are connected, and I'll share a few comments that we're getting from people on that. Also, by laying it out for a longer period of time, it gives us more time to talk to everybody who might be engaged. There are a few of us that just sort of get to run our own department. It touches somebody else somewhere along the line. And so if other people are involved as well, it gives us the time to get them in there. And then once we've got the plan laid out, it makes it much easier for us to begin to look at what are our options, what are some of the scenarios, what could happen. Especially on the digital side of things, we're making adjustments almost every day. This is working, this isn't. Social media, it's working in Northern Illinois, let's boost it there. Nobody in Iowa paid attention, let's not do it there. Let's save it for a different time. We shared the data with you on some of the areas we have are very Facebook oriented, some are very LinkedIn oriented, some open our emails, some don't. So this allows us to just keep going where it's not a billboard in one place for 6 years, whether it's good or not. We can adjust it depending on what it is that we're seeing happen. It also allows us to give people the information that they've been looking for, mostly through Salesforce, that we can actually say, these 7,000 emails went out, these 1,500 got opened, these 300 got clicked through, these 80 went to the website, and we've captured the data, and here it is, and here's the people that you can go after now. And so being able to share that with people has really made a big difference. We've already gotten some comments at conferences and things where people have made comments about, wow, that was sort of interesting. I got this in my email, this popped up on my Facebook, and now you just talked about it at the conference. Roundtable people have said the same thing, where I'm getting this like 3 or 4 different ways. I never really noticed all that before. And I think a lot of that is just we're being a little bit more consistent with what the message is as we're out there. We've also heard the same thing internally, where people are starting to say, interesting. We have similar pictures, we have similar stories, we have similar videos. People are doing kind of the same things. So, it's slow but sure, but by repeating those and letting people see the same message more than once in several different places, that we're finally, I think, getting to the point where people are starting to grasp it and say, okay, I get what you're doing now. And most of it's because the message is a little bit clearer, and it's not trying to throw 36 things at them, but to say, this is what we're going to try to get done in the next week, and then being consistent across them. So that's been the gist of it. And so now for your memory and to bring it all back, Zach's younger, he remembers everything, so he said he'd go through the recap.
Thanks, Jim. So I'm glad that Jim went over kind of the why this is necessary to have this roadmap, why we kind of want to reset the table, put all the conversations we've been having together into a way in which we can digest it. So real quickly, I know that some have attended some have attended just a few, some have coming for the first time, but we went through the leads lists that have been produced and then using analytics to fill your pipeline. That was about a month ago. Then we moved into 2 weeks later where Courtney was talking about social media and what works, what doesn't work, your role in it, and how to actively engage in it. Last week, we talked about the concept of storytelling and how that goes in directly into our content and our marketing with all of that. This is going to be a little bit of participation. So just in general, have you notice any commonalities amongst those trainings, those that have been a part of all three of them, or just from the titles alone, or just based on what Jim was talking about?
We're all on a Friday.
They were all on a Friday. Perfect. That is the definition of commonality. There's no right answer to this one.
Were they all recorded?
They were all recorded, so they're all on YouTube to view at your pleasure. That's on the lead team chatter group, but we can distribute that to a larger audience too. Okay. Katie, I noticed that you've been a part of all of them before. Katie, do you have any commonalities amongst all three, or just a feedback to how this has gone? Katie,
Are you talking Columbo?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's Katie Griffin or Katie.
Sorry.
No, I actually did not make it last Friday, so I can't speak to that. No, I don't know. I guess I just know they're on Fridays as well.
So we've done a great job. We're done.
I think trying to help us try to figure out a better, I mean, as it says in the title, trying to figure out a pipeline and just really trying to help us navigate and utilize our resources and tools to be successful. I mean, that's kind of, you know, what I gather from it all.
Yeah,
That
and
was better than my answer, Katie.
Yeah, and I appreciate, you know, giving an answer while I put you on the spot. So thank you for doing that as well. Mike,
Exactly. Yeah, they're all from Wisconsin, but live streamed to our other three geographies.
Oh, ouch.
No, I meant that as a good thing that you're bringing all of us in.
Oh, sure, Mike.
I'll know a little more. Okay, this is too early. So I have been in attendance for,
Isn't that a good thing?
and what I would say is I've learned a few things along the way, but it was also validation for me that some of the things that we're already practicing are the best approach.
Great point. Great point. We don't want to educate on something new here. We're really just kind of take the themes that we've all been doing for a long time and putting definition to them as a part of a strategy, as part of a plan, and part of a system that would go through that. That's the idea of this roadmap that we're building out of this, is that as we've gone through these trainings, as we're giving you little tidbits from it, you can build this into a system in which you can start to identify how you do this routinely. So, more participation out of this. So we're gonna have a little fun of make-believe land. Pretend that I am the owner of Zach's successful business. Super successful business. I have grown that business into being a top 10 organization by Forbes. And I've done that by inventing teleportation.
Right.
So we get to go everywhere. I know, right? Because I share my success with the world, I have a #1 streaming podcast, which means I have a large audience of 40 million people on a monthly basis. And just for fun, I've been able to allow Elon Musk to retire early, become my personal assistant. We have some fun. We drive around in a Tesla Roadsters. It's great. You have my undivided attention for 30 seconds. Who would like to pitch MRA or their service to me?
Based on what you said here, have you been in Illinois lately?
Myself?
Yeah.
I go everywhere. I try, again, teleportation. We go everywhere. Anybody? Okay, so seeing no volunteers out of this, we're going to change this a little bit. We're going to have some peer-to-peer participation. So grab a partner, talk about what it is when you pitch a service or you pitch MRA to someone that's brand new, either on the phone where you've had some conversations already with them, so there's a little bit of an introduction, or someone that you're meeting at a networking event. What are the things that you talk about? What are the things that you say? So we'll take 2 minutes, talk amongst yourselves. For people on the phone, you can talk with amongst each other. I'm going to mute it here so there's not a lot of feedback. So just let you know, 2 minutes.
All right, can everybody hear me on the phone? This is Katie.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know who we all have.
Illinois comment.
So I did do you want me to jot down a few things that we all pitch to people and then we can communicate that?
Sure, give us
Sure.
talking to a new member. What would you do?
Well, we're the total resource center for them for HR, right?
Yep.
What else?
It's a one-stop shop for all your HR needs.
Okay.
I guess I would take that as
I
step
think
back
Provide-
and find out what some of their top challenges are at the moment before I just jump in and start pitching MRA. I would find out, more about them, what's going on, what some of their top challenges are, what are the things that keep them up at night, and then from that, I would start bringing in the benefits of the membership and how we can help solve whatever those items are.
I agree too. This is Kathy Packard. I always start with trying to understand them better before I jump in and talk about any one service or even membership, because the more I know about what their needs are, the better I can articulate a good story to share with them on why we might be a good solution for them.
Deb, I echo the starting with getting to know them a little bit better before zeroing in, because oftentimes our brand is one that either needs some explanation or that people haven't heard about because they think automatically of for-profit versus the approach we take.
No, I think
Could we-
that's good, especially for someone being new, because I don't always know the right approach. So thank you for that. I think somebody
Yeah.
else just joined in.
That was me. I hear you loud and clear, Deb. I think for this exercise, though, too, we should, and I agree, I take the same approach of wanting to get to know the folks. But if we see it's like, we are your one-stop shop for your HR needs. We usually say education or knowledge transfer. I like to say wisdom transfer and make that distinction, training and other services. But before we get into those specifics, I'd like to learn more about you and your organization, et cetera. If we only have 30 seconds to talk to Zach and Elon Musk in their Ferrari or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've been hearing some of the conversation, and thank you for the virtual team to start this conversation and lead the discussion about what you've been talking about. How do you introduce MRA? I heard a lot of feedback of learning about the member themselves first, getting to understand what it is. Jim, I think that is very common to how you approach it as well. If you don't mind sharing your.
Mine has completely changed in the last couple of months to just asking, usually it's, what is MRA is sort of the opening question. And mine is just, well, are you having trouble finding talent? Oh yeah. Are you having more to do than you've got time to do? Yeah. Are you comfortable with your comp and benefits? Do you think you're competitive? I don't know. Do you have people who need a little bit of skill development? Well, sure. Okay, well, that's what we do. And that's been a lot easier because at that point it's like, oh, all right, now I get what it is you're up to. And that leads them to, well, what do you mean you find talent for me? Or what do you mean you do training? Or what do you mean you've got comp?
Yeah.
So I've just used those 4 questions.
I love that approach, Jim. It's very simplistic, but very effective.
Yes.
No, I would,
Simplistic as me.
yeah, I want to just
Anybody
add,
else like? Okay, go ahead.
Packard, I just wanted to add that, I have backed off really talking about MRA as a total HR resource until I find out more about them, because oftentimes they immediately jump to, we are the same resource that they get for free with their benefits broker, and that's not what I want them to think. And so the more I learn about them and learn about their challenges, then I can talk about, what we do and how we can help them, instead of letting them lead with thinking that we're just like a benefit they already get for free.
Great insight. Great insight. Anybody else like to share theirs before I move on? So we do have a marketing defined elevator pitch. I did share it in a chatter post. about a month ago. I'll read it really quickly. MRA is an employer association that partners with businesses to solve their HR challenges and develop their employees to create a stronger workforce. We provide a variety of services covering 4 areas of HR expertise: talent management, learning and organizational development, HR services, and total rewards. So what I've heard in both the conversations I've heard on the phone before we got together and then here in the room as well, all wonderful approaches, right? We all have our strategy, we all have our definition to how to engage that conversation. Even with our marketing, our marketing approved elevator pitch, really useful information of who MRA is. It's great to hear. I'm going to take one step back in the conversation though, and I'm just going to ask a broad question. Generally, in those sales operations, when you have a buyer and a seller, and you have those conversations together, the seller, generally, just off the top of your head, your gut feel, do they buy people first, or do they buy companies first? People. Show of hands, people. Companies.
Yeah, I have a different answer, so it's not up there.
Not just your answer.
Well, I'm not right in the middle. However, we know from Salesforce that 70% of our leads come in because we're MRA, because we're the company we are. But our member relations team, our hotline advisors, our instructors then need to wow them so that they get in deeper.
Exactly. And I am also going to be right in the middle too. Because when we heard all the feedback of what were our own elevator pitches, what was being sold first in everything that we're talking about in our corporate branded and marketing elevator pitch, into what we were talking about in terms of learning about the customer first, and just generally introducing yourself. What was being sold first? Was it people? Was it us? Was it our intangibles? Is it the company? And that, at the root cause of understanding that people buy people, generally, at first impression, they have to like you, they have to like your intangibles, they have to agree with you, is what we're trying to accomplish with this entire roadmap of how to proactively market yourself. It's a reason why we focus so much on educating yourself on the data that we have, engaging in social media and getting out there so you have a personal brand to yourself. You're creating that presence, you're creating that credibility with them, and people can generally get to like you and know you based on just that action itself. And then creating the stories that bring people in, that talk about, you know, why should they talk with you? Because people buy people. And that's the thing that we're trying to get out of this, is to really understand that we are humans and that we need to be a part of a corporation, a part of an organization that can do services, but we have to know that it's us that are doing that. So again, I'm right in the middle too, because it's the credibility of the organization and it's the credibility of yourself too. Last week, I got to go to a really good conference called Young Guns in Igniting Entrepreneurs. I think that was the tagline.
I don't remember the tagline.
Okay. Igniting Entrepreneurs is what I'm going to say the tagline was, but it's about that. And it was a really good conference that, you know, you see some of us that got to go to it. That exercise of going through your elevator pitch and then just the understanding that people by people was actually from that conference. So very helpful to put things into perspective. But as I was sitting there at the conference and thinking about the training that we've been doing for the last month or so, it ties in a lot to the idea that they're teaching about being entrepreneurs. One of the things that I really appreciate is that they talked about not just being an entrepreneur, but being an entrepreneur, because that's what we are. We are entrepreneurs. We're part of MRA, but we have autonomy to grow our business, our own personal business. That is the leadership style that we have here, to be autonomous and go out and win business. And we need to make sure that we are entrepreneurs and we're taking those chances, growing ourselves, making sure that we're being credible, sharing our stories so we can actually have conversations about bringing MRA business into it. Now, before the rumor starts spreading, I'm going to say that it's the shadows and the color that look like Valerie and I are holding hands in this photo. We are good friends, but we're not holding hand friends yet. Yeah. One of the speakers there, David Bellman, For those of you in Waukesha might be familiar with David, very active here in Waukesha County. He is the owner and CEO, I think CEO, maybe president of Bellman Homes. So he's a home builder, very active in the community. And he had a really interesting story to talk about himself and the failures that he had as a businessman for over 25 years of owning a business. So one of the conversations he had was about the 7 deadly sins that can destroy a business. Now, again, this was the idea of being the entrepreneurs and the entrepreneurs that we are, of creating our own business. So again, these are lessons, these are sins, these are things that he learned personally for himself. Yes, he represents a business, but also represented himself as well. I'm going to share 2 and focus on 2 of those for our conversation today. The first one, actually the second one of his list, was operating without a plan. That was one of his sins. When you focus on just doing the next thing that's right in front of you without understanding the reasons why or the next steps to that, really gets you down a path of just only living in that moment without planning ahead or thinking ahead. Defining your goals, making sure you have a procedure around that, knowing what your outcomes could be and what you want them to be. All those things that we talk about for our smart planning, for our GPS goals, go into that mindset of operating with a plan. So making sure that we don't go through that. The third one on his list was also failure to create a system. From that plan comes your actions. And if you repeat actions over and over again, you can build those into a system. Work is hard enough. And when you have to do that from scratch every single time of those repeated tasks, it becomes impossible. So creating a system from your plan is what he's recommending out of this. And not doing that obviously leads to a failed business. Now I'm going to give you a little teaser. I'm not going to go through the rest of them. If you want to take a look at the rest of this list, it's there. Please go watch the YouTube video. You can read them yourself. So with all that being said, the things that we've been teaching for the last 3 weeks of what we've done in the member experience, talking about how to get yourself out there, being proactive in your sales, let's create that system because we're going to put that plan into that system. So this is repeating our actions to make sure that we're bringing in those leads. Proactive marketing system. We're going to gather data on an audience. We're going to create a differentiating story for that specific audience. We're going to build that into a campaign so we can have a conversation with them. We're going to engage in social media ourselves to promote that campaign and provide credibility to those members. And we're going to follow up and engage with leads that engage back with us. And that gets us right into the middle point that Susan was talking about between people buying people and people buying companies. Jim.
Okay. So now we're back to the roadmap again, and what we did. So here's what we tried to go through with you, the big wrap up, so the MR folks can get to their next gig. When we talked about the data on the audience and the top 50 list, we really were trying to encourage everybody to look at what is it you're trying to accomplish, stay focused on it, and go get it. 50 companies takes a while, and so we started like, oh, I'll call them all once and I'll be done. We know that that's not going to work. It's going to take 5, 7, 8, 12 calls in order to get there, but staying focused on the ones that we're going after so we understand that. And that we've got no shortage of data around here that if people are looking for something or looking for target groups, you know, we have a real advantage right now that says we can go get it and we can go find it. You also have a lot of people around here who can help, and whether that's pulling lists on conferences and events, whether that's getting data out of Salesforce, whether that's asking Zach to go through and run some different things. In terms of knowing the analytics and where to go after, we've now got all of that, which is pretty nice. On the storytelling stuff, some of the feedback we got from folks was, you know, I don't know what stories to tell. I don't know what it is that we do. I'll share a few with you that I just found this morning by walking around. But I think we do have the ability to tell more stories, and we can do them in a way that differentiates. And we forget that there are a lot of people who do recruiting. There are a lot of people that do learning and development. The question becomes, how do we explain ours in a way that is better because we know that it is? I can't just say, oh, we do recruiting and it's better. So, you know, folks aren't going to buy that and they're not going to be there. A lot of that is the conversation, a lot of that is the storytelling, and our ability to make sure people understand what it is we do and how we do it differently. And then taking advantage of everything that we've got around here. We shared with you the 32 levers that we have to pull, pulling them all at the same time and telling the same story a little bit. So, well, that's interesting. Oh, you get the answers, and I should do this backwards like Jeopardy or something. So these were 5. I walked around this morning and I told people, I'm looking for really good stories. Can you tell me any? And it's like pulling teeth, but we got them. We every year put out an MRA ad that's about our best companies. All of those companies that we recognize in that, we actually take or send them, depending on where they're located, a nice gift package that says, hey, thanks for doing this. Thanks for sharing the time. Thanks for telling your story. What a cool photo op to say, oh, here we are at whatever company after just recognizing them for being one of the best companies in X. And so we miss out on the story because we just weren't there that time. I asked Zach, he wrote an article on data, and all of a sudden he's got a member calling him and saying, hey, I really enjoyed your article about data in your MRA Edge. I got some questions for you. Another pretty cool story that says, hey, we've got a data analytics person who knows what they're talking about, and members are actually utilizing us, and we can use Zach to tell that story. I had a presentation yesterday, and a guy was there whose wife is the vice president of human resources at Kimberly-Clark. So I had 45 minutes to tell a story, but the guy was texting his wife because he brought it up and showed it to me, because he says, every night at dinner, we're having the same damn conversation that you're having up there. And so my wife would love to meet with you. And I said, okay, that would be awesome, because, hey, they're not a member of ours. But that was a 45-minute story where I was talking about what it is that we do, and it got us an opportunity. We had a social media contact from a woman from who works for the city of West Allis. They're not a member of ours, but she attends all of our conferences because she likes us, and we haven't been able to convince the city to join. She was at an event talking to a college kid and said, do you know anything about MRA? And the college kid said, no, I don't know anything MRA. She actually tweeted back to us saying, got this kid, wonderful person, she'd like to introduce them to MRA. We're going to invite her to our HR conference. She's now a pretty cool story to be able to say, hey, here's what happened. So glad to have this young lady here learning a little bit more about what's going on. And then on our recruiting side, Courtney talked to someone that we actually hired as an HR manager at a company at our law conference. She said that they had engaged us to try to find an engineer. We found them a woman engineer, the first woman engineer that's ever worked at their company, and the woman is just ecstatic because it has just changed the dynamics of what's going on in their engineering department. What another cool story. So that's 5 stories just from walking around that we can do something with if people can sort of just stop each day and say, what just happened today that was pretty cool? And those are the things that we're really trying to get people to stop and talk about. They may not all be great, but we got plenty of places where we can go out now and say, where do we tell this? Is this a major story that we want to tell online, that we want to tell in our magazine? Is it just a quick post that's just interesting and we can get it out there to people? But if we can get all of those, that leads into all of the other steps, that we've provided for everybody. This ability to engage now on social media and the numbers that we've got and the growth that we've had is really quite impressive. And we've got more and more people that are interacting with us now. The emphasis on LinkedIn this time, people are telling stories. Lori has sort of taken over the HR conference, which has been fantastic. She's now writing a LinkedIn story on each one of our speakers, getting people to engage, and then she's getting the hotline advisors to make sure they repeat her stories. And people are now almost feeling an obligation when they read one of our people's stories to say, I should do something with that. And at the very least, repost it. If you can comment on it, that's even better. And then if you can engage people, that's even better than that. So we all have sort of prided ourselves on, oh, I've got 1,000 LinkedIn people. I've never talked to any of them, but I got 1,000 of them. And now all of a sudden we're engaging them. And that's where we're starting to get the comments from people that says, wow, all of a sudden I'm seeing something. I didn't know you had so many people over there. Because people who follow us probably follow 20 of us. And now they're starting to see similar messages come out from a bunch of different people. That's all, basically free advertising. It's not hardly taking anybody's time as we go along. And then the final one of just the follow-up on doing all of this. This is, not everybody was born to be a salesperson. That's a very unique skill set. But I think what we've got now with the data that Zach has provided is a way in which to do this, where it's, look, I've got 50 names now that I know are good. That's more than I had before. I've now got a story to tell to those 50 people, and that's more than we had before. And now we've got a game plan in place that says, okay, I'm going to contact them. I'm going to send them content. I will contact them again. Then I'm going to call them. Then I'm going to follow up with another. I don't want to say it's robotic, but it's a system that says if I can keep doing this, eventually I'm either going to get through or I'm going to get a no. Either way, okay, I at least know where I'm going now. But the system is actually relatively easy to follow through on. I'll find them on LinkedIn. I'll have them, be connected with me. I'll find them on Twitter if I'm on Twitter, and I'll follow them. All of those are steps that it's not pretty, it's not exciting, but it's a way to get to somebody 12 times and then finally say, do you want to buy something from us or do you not? So as Zach said at the beginning, this is sort of the game plan. And again, it's, we're not rocket scientists. I think we can help tell stories. I think we can do different things. But the process is still the process. It's very rarely do we send an email and somebody writes back and says, hey, great, I would like to buy 56 of those. And every once in a while, you hit the right person at the right time. But for all of you that are talking to members every day, you could talk to somebody on Monday and they have no interest, and Tuesday their HR person leaves, and all of a sudden you're the most valuable person that's ever existed. And so that consistent, we're here, we're top of mind, we're the ones that you're going to go to if you need help, is a lot of what it is we're trying to do with this, that they never forget about us. They've always got somebody nicely helping them do something, whether that's at a conference talking to them, whether that's emailing, connecting with them, or whatever it might be. And during these, whatever 4 presentations, you've got people, who are willing to help, who are willing to run campaigns, to advise you on the social media, to help you with the data. People don't have to do it by themselves. Feel free to, I don't want to say abuse, but if you have to, abuse them to get the information that you need to make some of these things happen, because that's what we're supposed to be doing. And a lot of it is back on you now, because a lot of it is you making contacts with people, but we can make it as easy for you as we possibly can, so that you can find those people, you can contact those people, and you've got some product to sell to them. So with that, Zach and I will answer questions. Patrick and Catherine are doing a video filming of a recruiting testimonial today, so they're downtown, but you get Zach and I. And MR reps, if you've got questions, you can go first, because I know you're all going someplace else. Perfect. Okay, nobody knows the commonalities, but all of your questions have been answered.
I would just say it was a really good presentation. It did bring things together, and I think people really readily got what you were talking about. Good job.
Thank you.
We should have started there.
It's going to be really good.
Yeah, there. We needed you at the beginning.
Well, I liked the stories, and that was the one that I had missed. But something that you said about what happened today, that was pretty cool. I wrote that down, because even if people just thought about that question at the end of each day and posted something on LinkedIn, like yesterday I met with a member and they hadn't done training for their supervisors, and they wanted to know what's the one question or the one training I need to have for my people. And it was the supervisor in the law. So, put that out there and say, hey, if you have the same question, this was a question a member had. So anyway, I like the storytelling piece. I think it resonates with people a lot. So good job finding 5 stories this morning.
Jim and Zach, I'm thinking about, if you go back like 3 slides, I think. Oh, there, sorry, one more. So I'm thinking about the OD list of 50 and our upcoming OD meeting on Tuesday. We've spent some time looking at our list of 50, profiling them in terms of how they've already used MRA services. And now I want to disseminate some of the work to my teammates. It looks like this would be a good slide for me to reference in that meeting and talk about how we can create our strategy tailored to our 50.
For sure.
So for me, this create a plan, create a system is going to be our team conversation for Tuesday. So that when we're thinking about, okay, what do we need to do? Sometimes if you haven't been on LinkedIn or if you haven't been posting or you're not geared naturally to do those things, this kind of provides some baby steps we can take.
Great, glad to hear that. And I think that you've already done the first step in that is that
Yeah.
you've gathered your audience and you've even went further into it to define the specific way in which they've interacted with us.
Yeah.
So that even it's a subset of what that audience is. So you're on the right step.
Thanks. And thanks for the slide.
Of course, of course. Yes, I'll distribute the slide deck to the lead team and the MR Cheddar groups, so you have those as well the video recording of this.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
Of course. Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody.
Bye,
Thanks, Zach.
everybody.
Thanks, Jim. Have a great weekend.
Thanks
Sure.
all.